Welcome to the Real Life Moms podcast. It is time to take a break from all our to-dos and carve out this time to focus on ourselves. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today I'm here with fellow mom, business and wellness coach, and best-selling author, Christiane Schroeter. And today we're talking about how to rank at the top. So, hi, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Lisa. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you because we try to do all these great things. Here we are trying to build a business, have a podcast. You might even have a book out there. Who knows, right? And then you look at your results and you go, huh, I'm just not getting where I want to get to. But what I love about you is you've kind of done it. You have a podcast that's in the top 1%, right? It's called Happy Healthy Hustle. And you also have a book that ranked on the new releases #1 on Amazon, which is fabulous. And that's How to Master Your Goals. So you've kind of done it. And I'm excited for you to share the secrets of how you did it.
Let's do it.
So, what is the secret? Like, how do we get to reach the top? We're looking at our results and we go, you know what? Man, that is not where I want to be. So, how do we get ourselves seen and how do we reach the top of whatever chart we're looking for?
I love this question. And maybe I'm actually going to challenge the audience now a little bit because I have to admit, I didn't even know my podcast was ranked highly. I didn't even know there was such a thing that ranks podcasts until a friend reached out and she said, I plugged in the name of my podcast and it gave me these stats. Have you ever done this before? And so it took me a while to actually figure this out
Mhm.
because I totally got started like super scrappy, like recording on my cell phone. There was no video content. The audio was not great. And then I kind of ran out of ideas. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I should probably do video. And then I realized I had all this video from Instagram Live. And so, like, imagine I posted actually this portrait video with like the really scrappy audio from Instagram as podcast episodes. So, what I'm telling you right now is if you're overthinking this, you're looking at charts, you're getting the best microphone ever, you're wondering about what guests to line up. I didn't do any of that and I still ranked highly.
Mm-hmm. Such a good point because there's so many people who start something and they don't even get it out there because they're so like, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It has to look better. It has to sound better. And they don't even do it in the first place. And you're right. I started my podcast as well on my cell phone too. And I didn't know anything about the charts either. I'm not as high as you, but I'm still happy to say I'm in the top 3%. And that's exciting, right? But yes, everyone that meets me and I hears that I have a podcast, the first question they ask me, I don't know if this happens to you, is like, how many downloads do you have? Always, right? Because I think a lot of people validate their worth through these numbers, right? And I always say, I'm like, well, I don't really look at that because I just don't. That would make me crazy. I just want to be here and enjoy what I'm doing, talk to amazing people like you that can help somebody else and feel good about that. Even if it's just one person, that we're changing it for. That's enough for me. That's my top chart, right? But let's face facts, that is not everyone's top chart. So I love that you said that.
That's completely normalizing it. And what actually makes me happy to kind of follow up on what you were doing with regard to the question, I get that question all the time. Yeah, to confirm your question that you're getting, I get it all the time. And it sometimes reminds me of these card games that we used to play when we were children, these stats of vehicles or something like, how many horsepowers does your card have there? I don't know. Do you remember this, Lisa?
No, I don't remember
Was like
this game, but that's
Guinness
okay.
World
Someone
of
will.
Records or something, and you were like playing this and like, like bragging about the chart that your little card showed. So
Mhm.
to me, I don't know really either what the downloads are. What makes me happy is I tend to look at the map of where the listeners tune in from. that makes me happy. And I see there it's basically a map and it has little light dots
Mm-hmm.
of the listeners all over the world. And I'm like, oh, somebody in whatever, New Zealand just listened to my podcast and they're on the other side of the globe. How amazing is that? And then I'm like sending some gratitude to that person in New Zealand that just tuned in despite being on the other side of the world. And so to me, that's really what matters. And it's kind of like when you give a good speech
Mm-hmm.
that you always need to think about, as you mentioned, that one person that you're really changing their life. And that's all what matters. If you can reach that one person and you made their day, and the name of my podcast is Happy, Healthy Hustle, you made their day a little happier, or maybe you gave them some health tips in the middle of being busy. And
Mm-hmm.
my podcast is short, so it's for the busy mom transitioning to or from school, work, soccer pickups, who knows what. That's really what I'm aiming for. And it was never my goal when I started my podcast to go get into the charts and any of that. And I think that actually helps to have that mindset. That's my very first secret, not to worry about it, because I think the audience will pick up on it. You're maybe
Mm-hmm.
not as lighthearted, as easygoing, as fun-loving. Your heart isn't really in your purpose. Your heart is in actually more like a metric,
Yeah.
in a vanity metric that at the end of the day really doesn't matter. It's not like I have a huge award hanging behind me right now that says top 1% or I got like a pink Cadillac or anything like that. Didn't happen. Well, at least I don't know. Maybe I should double check on that. Maybe it did happen and I didn't sign some release form or something like that. But as far
Mm-hmm.
as I know, nothing of that matters really. No.
Yeah, and I do have to say, if you're not doing it for a purpose that really fills your soul and you're trying to like get those likes and those downloads or whatever it is, those sales, then it's going to fade. That's not something you can physically keep up with without burning out. If you want to keep doing the thing you like doing,
Mhm.
then enjoy doing it,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. So my number one tip would be don't worry about the metrics. And my number two tip would be because I didn't worry about the metrics, I had so much fun that I just kept telling people about it.
Mm,
So instead of worrying like how great the audio sounds or how amazing the video is, again, I have portrait video on YouTube, which is a complete like horizontal layout landscape, right? So there's like black stuff happening right and left. So I'm never worried about how great that looks or how great it sounds. I just told people about it. It's like, oh, I have a podcast now. You should tune in. And people were like, oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be actually really fun. You might actually laugh about it because it is definitely a passion project. And I think that kind of helps because it kept me very authentic, vulnerable. And like you think about a mom, I was basically starting this. I had fun with it, and that you can tell when you listen to it. That's I even post like the little bloopers of video content that maybe didn't go well because I also think that in videos or when you watch movies, that's sometimes the reason why you stay in your seat in the movie theater. You're like, oh, I think there's going to be bloopers at the end. And then you stay, and then that's like so fun to watch. And that's what I do as well. I just have fun with it. And I think
yeah.
the audience can tell.
Well, and it sounds like you're being real, and people like real versus this like perfection, this thing that is so perfect that it's hard, it's not relatable. And so I think that's a big plus, showing yourself, showing up, and being real. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I definitely make my mess my message.
Hmm.
Like sometimes I experience a problem and then I figure out a way to solve it or don't,
Hmm.
right? I just share the problem. And then I kind of talk about it. I'm like, well, so here we go. I definitely had fear of public speaking before I became a professor. And this is really what I did to overcome fear of public speaking because I
Hmm.
know it's a big issue, right? And it's not like I just landed on the face of the earth and I was a public speaker. Absolutely not. And so I share what helped me, really practical. And then I break it down into like 3 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, something you can count on your fingers. And I make this very approachable. And again, usually it's like something like how to, so it's nearly like these DIY shows on HGTV, where I'm showing you step by step. This is what I did. I'm pulling back the curtain. There is like nothing mysterious about this. And that might also help that you have something that helped you and you are just sharing that. You are actually excited about sharing it as well.
Now, whether it's podcasting or even your book, right? Your book also is up there in the rankings. So I know people try to do Etsy or on Amazon. And listen, you go onto Amazon, it's a sea of books,
Mhm.
a sea of products, right? Same with Etsy. How do you get yours to be shown? How does it stand out that people could even find it so that you could even rank that high?
Yeah, I think tying in with what we just talked about with the podcast, same thing. I just talked about it. I talked about it on social media. I talked about it on my podcast. I talked about it to people that I met in real life. I said, "Oh, I'm working on a book." And so they
Mhm.
knew my journey and they were kind of like my cheerleaders. They're like, "Oh my gosh, how close are you with the book?" And the other thing that helped is I really hyped up that book release day, and as it got closer, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know this is actually going to happen. And so I knew I had to release the book no matter what. So once on Amazon, you schedule the release, it basically gets locked. And so there's no turning back. So you schedule the release and you upload your book, and you can't like say, oh, I need like 3 more days or something like that. Whatever you upload is going to be released to the masses if you want that scheduled release. And that's what I did. And so I was like, oh, it is what it is. So here we go. It's just like with a podcast. I basically told myself, I'm going to do this. I set myself a deadline, I uploaded it, and then I let go. And I think that as moms, we sometimes want to control everything and want to be in charge and want to make it perfect, where in reality, it's sometimes the little rough edges that become more memorable. And now when I look back and how that actually all worked with that first book, there's definitely some moments when I thought I would give up and I was like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? It's absolutely crazy.
Mhm.
There's just so much to do. No matter where I look, it seemed like a construction zone with that book. And I think people were really starting to root for me. They were like, "No, you got this," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what I got myself into, but yeah, I can do this."
I think what I'm hearing is tell people also. No one's going to find you unless you let them know that it's there because it is. There's a sea of a lot of things to
Mhm.
choose from. And telling your friends who are cheerleaders, who do want to support you, will then tell other people, but also hold you accountable. When you announce it to people and you tell them you're going to do it, all of a sudden that's accountability. You got to show up no matter what it looks like. I remember when I ran my first marathon, that was the one thing they told us. They said, tell everybody. And I was terrible. I mean, like, I didn't even know if I was going to finish. I was just like, I just want to get home before dark, man. And the thing started really early. So we're talking slow pace, didn't know if I was going to make it. And I told everyone, and I'll be honest, that really helped me. Like to say, I'm going to show up no matter what on this race day and I'm going to start. You got to finish once you start because you got to get to the end. So there's no choice. But yeah, tell people.
Yes, for sure. And I love that you bring up the marathon example because it's similar with the book. So even before the book, and I use this concept that I call petite practice, I had practiced writing already. So I posted on Instagram, I wrote blog posts, and of course, when you have a podcast, I published the podcast episodes. So I already had content, and I wasn't looking at a white screen and starting from scratch. Essentially, what I did was I knew in my head how I'm going to rearrange and expand on the content to make it a book. And I think that really helps that you kind of got your training wheels on and you practiced, and that might have been in small steps. And then you build those small steps to eventually that book. And the other thing that I want to say, and that I loved so much, and how you just explained that with a marathon, is that it definitely helps to have accountability. But for me, because I teach marketing, it was also expanding into my brand. So a lot of my podcast episodes are called How to Overcome Public Speaking Fear, How to start 6 quick habits for a daily routine or something. And then my book, the best-selling book, is called How to Master Your Goals. So you can see it wasn't like my life memoir or something like that. It just followed what already worked. So
Mhm.
sometimes it helps to have something like I mean, like speaking about moms, you might have a really good cookie recipe or a cake recipe, and you just know that it works. And then you just expand on that. You're like, all right, I know that this works. So maybe next time when I make it, I do like a little variation on the theme and I might do it this way. And I think that helps instead of like overthinking it and starting from scratch and feeling like I'm completely out of my element here. I expanded on what I knew the audience really enjoyed. They enjoyed the how-tos, they enjoyed the small little worksheets, which my book is based on, that I also use in my podcast. And they kind of enjoyed this more fun, playful tone that I use.
I like how you just break it down like these little steps, little things, and then go bigger versus like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be number
Mhm,
one at it, right? Like
mhm.
just some little steps first is so much more achievable. Now, what do you think in your journey really were the things that moved the needle for you to rank higher?
I think the branding matters tremendously. Really tapping into not just like your favorite colors, but more what do these colors actually mean to you and what symbols maybe resonate with you and stand for you. And it's tremendously important. I mean, there's a whole psychology, of course, of colors and of symbols, etc. But I would say that really helped. So you can tell my symbols are all based around the French flag, and I'm very much tuned into the French culture. I spend a lot of time in France. I speak French. My whole system is called Petit Practice. So
Mm,
I knew that my book had to have those colors on there. One of them has, I have 3 books now, has an Eiffel Tower on it. So there's always something that when people look at it, even without reading it, they know that it's me. And
mm,
I think that's tremendously important. So if you want to rank higher, think about you scrolling on social media or on Amazon. It needs to already scream you without even reading that it's you. And you
mm.
will figure this out. Once you discover your superpower, it's all going to line up. But I think that is just so important. Like think all these other famous brands, whether that's a Coca-Cola or an Oreo cookie. An Oreo cookie has that really vibrant blue color. And even though they have seasonal flavors, that's still brand recognition. And so you need to think a little bit if you really want to rank highly, people will seek out the thing for you and for your story. And it will be eye-catching if you really play on the branding that you established with yourself.
It's interesting because I remember when I first started the like Instagram, I like to be creative. So I'd be like, oh, I'm going to make these colorful Canva quotes for my podcast, and they're all beautiful and different. And then I got into it, and people were like, but if you're scrolling, these are great, but they never symbolize you. You never
Mhm.
know it's you because it's always different. So at least use the same colors or something that looks like, oh, wait, this must be real life moms. Because who is coming just to my page to tap on things? They're not. It's just going right through and it's fast. So that is a good point.
The more you can be what I call on brand
Hmm.
in the choice of your words, in the colors, in your fonts, in the logo, it will be much quicker that you will actually rank because it's not just a product, but it's like a family that all moves together, right? So they all have the same last name, just like your family members, and they all have similar features, like your children might look like you. So you want this to be kind of like this. And if you look at a family tree, that's how you want your products to look like. In fact, actually, when I coach, I have what I call a product offer tree where we put all the products on. And I can tell you how eye-opening that is for my clients when all of a sudden they're like, uh-oh, I don't know where to put this thing. And I'm like, well, if you don't know where to put it, that's what your clients think as well. All of a sudden they're like, I don't even know that this podcast belonged to Christiana because I never associated it with you because it's just so different, right? And then I'm like, okay, so I need to work on my branding here. And I think that frequently when we try to get into the top ranks, if you have something that does well, like your podcast or maybe your YouTube appearances, you need to use that and then really expand and use as many elements in your other ventures, whether that's a book or a podcast, or let's say it's something on Etsy, it's a physical product. You need to really play on that because you already have something that you worked really hard for, and now you're just expanding on that logic that you worked so hard for. So you don't need to start from scratch. You're just
Mhm.
expanding it.
Yeah, it's just like the cookie recipe that works.
Mhm.
Don't do something
Don't change
different.
it.
Use the cookie recipe and then add to it. Okay. Well, what if somebody doesn't know their cookie recipe? Maybe they're
Yeah,
just, I mean, a
brilliant.
lot of people do this, right? They have
Yeah,
stuff and they're just putting it out there
completely.
and it's just willy-nilly. What about
Mhm.
those people? What do you say?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, the whole spaghetti throwing it against the wall situation. It happens, right? What I think, what we all need to do so often, whether you are a mom that's trying to start a business, whether you already have a business, is pause and look what you're doing. Does it actually align with what you feel you're really amazing at? And do you feel it aligns with something that people frequently ask you for help? Frequently, is it maybe something that you explain others? Is it something you're really passionate about? So now remember what I just told you, the how to overcome fear of public speaking, how to develop quick habits. So those are all things that are already coach. And while you don't really need to think of yourself as a teacher, at the end of the day, that's kind of like what a podcast in a book is. You're sharing something that somebody else will learn from you. So you just need to figure out what is it that you could teach, right? And whether that's making good cookies, you just need to figure out what that one thing is that you're really amazing at. Your superpower, I call it. Like my latest book is called Discover Your Superpower, and then you're really onto something
Mhm.
because that's something that nobody can take away from you. And if you're already sharing it anyway, people ask you for it, you may as well just write it out or record it and then position it as a podcast or a YouTube or a book.
Yeah. And what about people who may have found their superpower? They have
Mhm.
their, like, it's their thing, they're good at it, but it seems to still linger around the hobby almost. They want it to be their career, but it's just not there.
I see that all the time to where maybe let's just say somebody makes candles or you're making amazing cookies. Candles, cookies, ceramics, let's just stick to the three C's right now. Okay. So you're doing some physical product there and you're like, I'm really that amazing candle maker and people seek me out for my seasonal flavors and summer is happening right now and da da da. And so you're like, well, but I don't know. I'm covering my cost, I'm making money. It's still a lot of work, so now you need to think, okay, so how can I scale this? What will help you is, of course, that there is something that I call evergreen. So something that lives on without you. That's what you ultimately want, right? So if you make candles, you could record videos how to make candles, or you could record videos in how you use the candles, or you could do anything like that. You could even teach other people in like short mini courses and you record the mini courses and then you can sell the mini course. So see where I'm going right here is
Hmm.
you need to create something that lives for eternity. And the eternity could be a podcast, of course, too. But ideally, it's something that doesn't always require you in the moment being there and selling. You need to really create something that you can scale and that would basically sell while you're sleeping. That would be the ideal situation. Sleep
That's the dream,
and
right? You
sales are
make
going swimming.
something that just
That's the dream.
sells on its own. But I do find that people that do,
Yeah.
sometimes they even get to that point where it's like, okay, I've created a course. I
Mhm.
have friends that have created
Mhm.
courses, but they're having a hard time selling the course
Okay.
because it's not as passive as we love it to say, like, oh, it's so passive, I made it. But you still got to do something with it, right? So, like, what about those people who are just
Mhm.
like, okay, I've got something, it's up, it's out, I'm trying to advertise or whatever, but we haven't hit that level yet where it's generating any sort of passive income.
So let's come back to the candle ceramics maker right there. So maybe they have this amazing course on like how to start your Etsy store and sell these amazing homemade goodies that and you're really good at this too. So I always feel that you need to have some mercy with your audience because they're all so busy, especially as moms, that they probably just haven't heard about this wonderful thing that you created. And what helps there is you just need to become more visible. To be honest with you, we are all being like completely bombarded. There's so much noise out there. So it's not personal, first of all. We tend to take it personal. It's like, oh my gosh, nobody wants my thing. It's not like that at
Mm-hmm.
all. It's actually really just that people would love it. They just haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you when I launched my book, I honestly felt I was so oversaturating the market that I thought like spaghetti, it was coming out of people's ears. I was thinking like, should I really post this again on social media? And my daughters came actually to me. They're like, Mom, we've seen it. We've seen it. And it's like, great, thanks for being my number one fans, their team, right? Guess what? There were still people like, did you ever actually launch that book, by the way? And I was like, you haven't seen this? And then
Mm-hmm.
I realized, oh my gosh, who knows what's going on in their life?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You gotta have mercy with your audience. Who knows what these people might have taken a social media break? They might not read their email. They might just not tune into everything that you share. So you can't give up. Absolutely not. If you want this to live on, don't think of this like first launch, second launch, whatever, as being a failure. Set yourself a number, maybe in 3 months, I'm going to reach 100 people. And then you just need to keep track of that and you need to see how that goes because all of the amazing innovations, whether that's the light bulb or the car or whatever, were not created by talking to 3 people.
And it's a very good point you make because it's true. It's like not everyone sees everything. You're putting it out so it feels like you're just blasting things. And a lot of people feel bad. Like there's this
No,
guilty piece. I think we have to change that perspective of, oh, I got to put it out this much because so many people are not seeing it. Not all those, like people aren't annoyed if they're going to see it more than once, but a lot of times they're not even seeing it once, especially if it's on like an Instagram, Facebook, social media. It's not being shown to everybody that you're connected to. So, are there platforms or ways that you like best to kind of tell people what you're selling?
yeah, that's a great question. So during the pandemic, I was actually selling a lot of product on Instagram lives. So pandemic, people were probably at home. I
Mhm.
basically went on Instagram live and I used it as my sales platform. I had products, I sold, I shipped. And then all of a sudden, that became like a problem with people tuning in from various countries. And all of a sudden I was like, ooh, didn't think that really through. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to exclude these people on Instagram lives because I didn't want to exclude anybody. And it always went down to I had to just be, again, it comes back to clarity, right? You just have to be more clear with regard to, all right, so if you want to buy something here, here are my terms and my conditions. So you pay, and then you have to live in a country that I can ship to, and blah, 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 blah. So at the end of the day, the Instagram worked great for me. And like I say, I did Instagram lives and I sold products, and it was lovely. And I connected with so many people that I'm still friends with 5 years later, right?
Mhm.
I think that overall that works well. Now, of course, in general, I'm connecting via email now for two reasons. A, I own the email list, right? So I can email these people no matter what happens to social media. These connections are something that I always feel I can also reach out a little bit more genuine than just sharing things on social media. And I don't know who's tuning in and watching this and what people do with this because
Mhm.
people signed up for my email list to hear from me. I know there's a certain, like, I would love to hear from you. And they even tell me what they want to hear from me. So I feel like I'm serving them well in sending out emails of value. While on Instagram, I sometimes feel like It might reach you, it may not reach you. I don't know what's really going on in your life. And at the end of the day, I also feel that if you're signed up for somebody's email, there's a certain responsibility that I now feel in how I treat my audience. So I don't bombard them with 10 emails per week. I really honor their time and I respect that. So I use it very intentionally to sell. And I'm very intentional also in how I sell. I really try to position the product so people immediately understand that's what it is, that's what the value is, and that's what makes it different from this other book that she just launched. So you
Mhm.
just need to think this through. The social media might be more of the spaghetti approach at the beginning, especially, but then again, you're building your audience from there. So it's like a funnel. And then this funnel leads to your email list. And then this email list might lead to like a low tier product that you're selling. And the low tier product might sell to a mid tier product. So think about that tree. So you can use the social media as your roots that build, but
Mhm.
ultimately the sales might not necessarily happen on social media. That might happen like more when you establish a relationship with your audience.
So, what's a good way for people to start creating that list?
Value. That's really what I can say. You need to have an item of value. Think about yourself walking through Costco. And it's great, right? We love Costco and we have a shopping list, da, 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 da. And then there's this little sample booth right there. That's you and your email sample booth. It's like, ooh, don't mind if I try this. And so you're getting pulled over here and you're like, it's actually kind of good. And then they're
Hmm.
like, yeah, so you can get this right now here and put that in your shopping cart. And you're like, yeah, you know what? So I opt in, I'm buying this right now. And that's kind of like you and your email list. You're sampling, you may be offering something of value, like maybe it's a worksheet, maybe it's a quiz. So I have a quiz that's called Discover Your Superpower that's leading into my book, right? But it's free, people can take it, and then they get their results delivered via email. So they take the quiz and then they're curious what the quiz results are, and then the quiz results are delivered by email. So you need to think, what's my brand about? What can I offer that's of value?
Hmm.
And that will over time then build your email.
Yes, and going back to Costco, I went there the other day with my kids, and oh my God, I did a two tries of the same thing. They have these mochi cake pops. I don't know if you've been there. I don't know if you've seen them, but I forgot to put them in my box. We walked away. We're like, let's go look at other things. We'll come back. We forgot to come back. I will be going back for these mochi cake pops because oh my God, they're extraordinary. I don't even like cake pops. They're extraordinary. So try those. So, what is one thing you'd like them to start doing today after this podcast?
Well, I think you need to basically dig down a little and figure out what legacy do you want to leave in the world. I call this superpower. Some people call it legacy. Some people call it footprint. Some people call it like, what do I be remembered by? It's all the same thing. We are talking about the same thing because you're amazing and you just have to figure out what is it that will make other people remember you, how amazing you were, right? I play this game with my clients sometimes because they're like, I know I'm amazing. And I'm like, do you? What would people say in your eulogy about you? When you leave a room, what would you want people to say about you and when you're not in the room? So I would like all moms to figure out, what is it that makes me amazing? And what is it that I want to be remembered by? What is it that I do that I could maybe even turn into a profitable business, step by step, the petite practices that would overall also bring me joy? And it's a passion project, but you're going to make this a profitable passion project because you're going to build this. You can do it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, where can the listeners find you and tell us all the stuff you offer?
Yeah, so find me. We talked a lot about the podcast, Happy Healthy Hustle, as in we're staying on our hustle, but we're also going to keep the happiness and the health not on the back burner. It's like this intersection of Venn diagram. Then, of course, look at my website, Dr. Christiane. That's doctor is written out. And of course, you can go to my Amazon store. I have a whole storefront of all the products that I use in my life. And I actually record videos how I use them as well, how to use an under eye cream. Oh my gosh, the one most popular video. You will love this actually, Lisa. How to cut up a pineapple. And I have this
Ooh.
little device and I show how to cut up a pineapple and it's on my Amazon storefront at Dr. Christiane. So check that out too. My books are there, including the pineapple cutter and whatever I like and I use, I share it on there. So everything has been tried and true, mom approved.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so enjoyable, and I learned a few new tricks, both with ranking higher, but also just simple life momhood. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about Christiana and what she has to offer, just click on the link in the show notes. And until next week, keep carving out time for yourself and keep putting yourself on top of your to do list.